See you. I think is this the first time I see you since Eretz Yisrael?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, what a chabad.
And your brother called me. A nice conversation.
Tonight?
After night, after I spoke to you, he called me. I'm surprised they didn't hear my message. I left him. They called me for his shidduch. You know?
He totally didn't hear.
I told him, listen to my message.
And then you? Wow, a lot of Chashuv Kiddush over here.
Left nice. So they were nice.
Oh, Fabrengen. Oh, wow.
45 people.
Oh, wow.
Sushi.
Shit. Expensive. Who sponsored the... Huh?
The rabbi.
The rabbi sponsors?
Very
How was what's going on with the new shul? Is it... Has anything started yet? Started? Work started on the new shul? That's it.
We actually saw
Just missing 2 million.
outside these.
They're doing renovations now?
No, not yet.
I didn't receive any beautiful text.
No.
This permits this before, thousands of dollars. This permits.
So they have the permits yet? They're not holding anywhere near. You have to pay the monthly
There we are.
mortgage.
You have to stay till after the Chagim, because understood that Chagim will be here and that's it, maybe not. What? We sang Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, Sukkot? Others didn't even file until after. No. I know what to do. I know in time.
Yeah.
I did
Rabbi say tonight Matzai Chav Av.
So duck my way.
Special day of Rabbi Yitzchak's yard site. You Fabrengen last night. Everyone is already all involved. And Shakaya, thank you. I thought of Yikadai, we learned a little bit of the Torah of Rabbi Yitzchak. A little tidbit. Did Rabbi Mirazov teach something yesterday?
Yeah.
In the Fabrengen, he made copies and
with the book that his wife brought him the ink, different color and this, and he brought some from the color of the Maamarim. All different things. Red, yellow, whatever she had, she brought him. And with this, he wrote down.
So what did he learn? What was it about?
Why Meister Levi Shona Shlishi, Shona Shvis.
I just wanted to make sure it's not the same, because last time I came with we learned the same thing that he taught. So Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Levik, he was arrested and he was sent in Galus, in exile. He wrote for himself a Rishima, a note, where he explains what had happened to him, and then he explains the deeper meaning why this happened to him, and how his name and the place where he was, everything is connected. Everything is connected. So we're going to try to take a look at it. He starts off like this: B'siyata d'Shmaya, Ani Levi Yitzchak ben Zelda Rachel. I, Levi Yitzchak, the son of Zelda Rachel, Higlesi al-Meshech Heishanim. I was exiled for 5 years.
Hugleti, not Higleti.
Huglesi, right. Al-Meshech Heishanim. To where? The Masa Chiali, to the city of Chiali, in Medinas, Kazakhstan, in the country of Kazakhstan. Mehem, of those 5 years, Mehem Shechazeh B'tchilasei, in the beginning of it, Yeshavti Bebeis Hasurim, I sat in jail. Not in Golas, but in jail. And the entire time altogether started Mintesnis in Hey Tafrei Sadik Tes from Tesnis in 1939. Tesva B'Shvat. He was sentenced until Tesva B'Shvat. Shnas Tafshin Hey. 1945. Now, Besach Chakol, the Chamisha Beis Hasurim, was in 5 different jails that he was put into. Now, Mitchila of the Nepertrafs, in the beginning he was placed in the city of the Dnepropetrovsk, where he was, that's where he lived. And then he was transferred to Kyiv. Then they brought him back to the Dnepropetrovsk. Then to the city of Kharkov. They put him. They transferred him to a different jail. And then he was transferred to the final jail of Almaty. So he had 5 places of jail. And after he was in Almaty, he was sent from Almaty to Chiali, where he spent his galus. So there were 5 jails, and it was the jail time was 303 days, like the amount of Shva, Shin Beis Aleph. Now, ve'emasai hudili shemishpati nimser laha sovis v'shanda the NKVD SSR. When was I told that my case is being brought before a certain section of the NKVD, of the SSR means, of the USSR, was in the Leil Shana Rabbah, the night of the Shana Rabbah, Karav Hashmeres HaBaker, close to the early morning. Where? In the base Hasurim in Abtaf. So he was moved around without judgment, without his case being brought before a judge, from jail to jail. And finally, back when he was the 5th time in jail, in Dnepropetrovsk, there he is brought before a jail, before a judgment, where they took from the middle of the night. They sentenced me for 5 years of Golas, like I mentioned earlier. Now, we'll move on to the Sucha Kol Zev Ashkacha Pratis. All what happened to me was Ashkacha Pratis, Momaila, from above, Al Kol Chatoisai, Navenoisai. And all my sins, of Pshai, my many sins, whatever happened to me should be a forgiveness of all my sins. Hashem Hatoiv Ashalichol Rachamov, who has no limit to his mercy, Yirachem Alai, Babnei Beisi, Sheyichu, my family, Sheyichu, B'toich Klal Yisrael, B'schus, Avois HaKadosh, in the merits of my holy fathers and Shmas Eidim. He came from all the Rebbes, right? All the way back from the Tzemach Tzedek, the Alter Rebbe. And Meheira Yitzeinim and Ametzim Merechav, and soon, speedily, I should be taken out. The Yeshiveni, the Beisi, I should be brought back to my home. Beisi means Hanavi Ishti, to my wife. Lazari, to my children, Yichu, Ve'eyim, and B'yachad, and I shall be with them. Menucha, Shal, Ve'hashket, Ala Torah, Avodah, Al Gimilas Chasadim. V'oirich Yam, V'shalom Tevis, and Imim. Tambit Kol HaYamim. V'soich Kol Yisrael Achenu, amongst all Kal Yisrael, Amin Ken Yirasim. So this is the whole story. 3 sons, 3 boys.
And the Rabbi has another 2 brothers.
Now, this was a story in short that he writes down what happened to him. And this is in the beginning, obviously, he wrote down what happened to him. And now he's going to explain Api Kabbalah, what happened to him. Everything what happened to him, Api Kabbalah and Gematria and Remez, what had happened. Mihine, start off like this. Shemi, my name, Remez hints al Gvuris, on Gvura, severity. Hein Levi, Mehi Yitzchak. Both the name Levi and the name Yitzchak. V'ayin b'reshima, he sends you to another Torah of his that he wrote on the Maimer Chazal, al Pasuk V'davar Shemashchi Chasani. V'inyan Levi Yitzchak. Over there, I wrote about Levi Yitzchak. You do it like it's well known that the name Levi and Yitzchak both show on Gvuris. Now, we're going to explain a little bit, digress a little bit. We know that a Kohen, it says, is the Isha Chesed, and Levi is, the idea is Gvura Levi. Also says that Yitzchak, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov correspond to Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, 3 meters. So Avraham is Chesed, Avraham is Ava, Avraham Oyavi, and Yitzchak says Lule, Yaakov said Lule, Pachad, Avi, right? The fear of my father, that Yitzchak's avodah was in a fear, it's in a gvura. It was the midah Gvura. So he says, both my name Levi and Yitzchak both refer to Gvura. When you had a lot of difficulty in life, they both refer to the idea of Gvura. The Tain, Mispashem Yached, if you make the gematria of the two names together, of Levi Yitzchak, Shel Mispar Neder, it comes out to Neder, 254. And Neder, Bina is a Mesir Bina, Chachma Bina, that's the first spheres. Neder comes to the level of Bina. Bina is the Makar of Gevuris, the source of Gevura. Neder Bechlal is the idea of Gevura because Neder means that you're holding yourself back from something. Restrainment is the idea of Gevura, being strict, right? Being strict, being restrainment, that's the idea of Gevura. It says the Av has the father to made for the Nedarim, because Av is the idea of Chachma. And Bina, a Neder is in the level of Bina. So Chachma is higher than Bina. So from the level of Chachma, you can be made for the Neder. Neder is from the level of Bina, and Bina in Kabbalah is a source for Gevurais. Bechlal, the spheres are divided, the 10 spheres are divided into 3 kavod. Right, left, and the middle. Means there are some of the spheres that lean to the right, they're right leaning, some are left leaning, and others in the middle. It says Chochma is on the right, Chesed on the right, and Chochma, Chesed, and Netzach on the right. On the left, we have Bina, Vura, and Malch and Hoid, and then we have the middle is Das, the Ferris, Isoid and Malchus, right? So Bina is on the left side. It's the source of Gevura, the source of Gevura. Now, Bina takes ideas of Chachma, comprehension, and it works out all the details, breaks it down into details. Breaking something down into details is a concept of Gevura. Breaking it down and cutting it down to size and everything, that's an idea that Gevura has. Chesed doesn't break things into details.
Women has more Bina than men. That's what it says, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Bina Yisera.
Yeah, Bina.
Now, if you add, that's the gematria of Levi Yitzchak is Neder, which Nedarim, it says in Sfarim, come from Bina, which Bina is the source of Gevura. Now, he continues on. If you can add on to this that I am the son, my mother's name was Zelda Rachel. If you'll take Levi Yitzchak ben Zelda Rachel, all those 5 words, Levi Yitzchak ben Zelda Rachel, in Yala B'Yachad Misper Tafresh Nunva will be 656. Shamisper Hazeh, 656. This amount, Remez hints on the name of Elikim. Elikim is, we know, Din, Kavura. Shem Hashem, Yudke Vavke, shows on the Midah Rachamim. Shem Elikim is the Midas Hadin. So, he said that 656, it hints to the name Elikim. B'mila Yudin. Shin, it's 300. What does that mean? Elikim is Aleph Lamed Hey Yud Shlos Mem. So the Hey, when you write a word Hey, you spell it out, right? Let's say you spell out an Aleph. How do you spell out an Aleph? Aleph Lamed Fe, right? So how do you spell out a Hey? Hey, there are different ways how to spell it out. That's called Milui. When you spell out a letter, it's called Milui. It's spelling out the Milui of the letter. So Hey, there's ways you could do Hey in 3 ways. There's He. The word He, Hey Yud Aleph, 3 ways. It could be Hey Hey,
Hey Aleph,
and Hey Yud. That's the word He. The word He shows on the 3 different ways that you could spell the word Hey if you write it out. You don't just put the letter Hey. You spell how you pronounce it, the Milah. So if you do it with the Milah Yud, means Hey Yud. You do it a Hey Yud, the gematria of Elikim, meaning you do the gematria of the Miloi. The Miloi of Aleph, Lamed Fei. The Miloi of Lamed, Lamed Mem Dalet. And the Hey, you do a Hey Yud, the Miloi Yud. And the Mem is Mem Mem. If you do that all together, you have the gematria of 300. Okay, that's Shin. Miloi Yud and Shin. Obribo, if you square it, you're going to get Reish 200. What does that mean? If you do like this, Aleph is 1, Aleph Lamed is 31, Aleph Lamed Hey is 36, Aleph Lamed Hey Yud is 46, and then the whole word together, Elikim, all together is 200. So now you have another 200. So you have 300 and 200 is 500. Now, 500. Now, Pashat means do the gematria Pashat. 86. The gematria of Shem Elikim is 86. It's always 86 Elikim. Yud Kei Vav Kei is 26. Elikim is the gematria of Halaf Lamed Hey Yud Shloson. The normal way, Pashat way, is 86. So add 86 to it. So now we have 586. Right? We're still missing another 170. Hanekudes, the Shem Elikim. Inside 500 and you're missing 70. 586, you're missing 70. Hanekudes the Shem Elikim, him ayin. The nekudis of the letter Shem Elikim are the gematria of ayin. How are the nekudis gematria ayin? Because every nekuda that you have, every dot that you have in the gematria, in the world of gematria, is counted as 10. When you do real gematria, is a real remez, is a real part of the Torah. You know, people like to say gematrias, they say for drasha. That's people like to say things, play with the letters. But real gematria is a real derech in remez in the Torah, and it has its rules and there's ways how it's done. And the nekudas, every dot adds up to 10. So how many nekudas do we have in the name Elikim? We have Elikim is a chataf segel. So you have a shva and you have a segel under the aleph. That's 5. Then you have a cholam lamid, 6. And the hey is chirikei, Elikim, 7. 7 times 10, because every pintala,
You're missing 70.
is 70. B'yachad hu taf reish nun vav. Now, okay, so we do see that's very much connected to Elikim, how we got to this gematria Shem Elikim. So it's all has to do with the name Elikim. It's the milui of Elikim. It's the nekudas of Elikim. It's the Hashta way of Elikim and the Riboy of Elikim. Any way you do it, if you put all the ways that you do Elikim together, it comes out to 656, and that is his full name, 656. Now, what is 656? Take it further. Mispar Shushan, Shoishan, Shoishan. Shoishan is a flower, we know, rose.
Shoshana,
right? Now, he goes more specifically. Shoshana, if you split it up, Shoi, the Shin Vav, is Mispar Levi, Yitzchak. Levi.
What is it?
Levi Yitzchak Ben. Shin Vav of Shoishan,
306.
306 is the gematria of Levi Yitzchak Ben.
It's also 206.
And the Shin Langanon of of Shoishan is the ending is Zelda Rachel's mother's name. It splits evenly.
Levi Yitzchak Ben
Levi Yitzchak Ben
is not Shani.
is Shin Vav. No?
306.
Let's see.
Levi is
150,
36.
250.
Yitzchak is 90, 190, 208.
258.
28 and
268. 70. No, 270. And
32.
huh?
300. Yeah, like you said, Shinvov.
Works out. 46, 56,
306, exactly.
146,
306.
154, 254, 254, 354. It's not
306. Take every load. Take Levi by itself, Yitzchak by itself, Ben by itself. It's come out to 36. 306.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Shin Nun is a mispar Zelda Rachel. So the ending of the letter is his mother's name.
Shin Vog and Shinun.
Now, what is Shayshan? A Shayshan who Edom is red. Now, Kamoi Shayshana Aduma, like a red rose.
It's also Gvura. Red is a Gvura.
Red is a color of Gvura. Lahainu Bina. This refers to Bina. The Koyer HaGvuris, the source of Gvuris. V'lechein b'Yom Kippurim. Yom Kippurim, the Chinas Bina, which is the level of Bina, says in Sfarim that Tikkunei Zohar says that Yom Kippur is in the level of Bina. Maschel HaPayit, the poet, the poem, the Tfilas Musaf starts off B'Tevas Shoishan. Shoishan Emeka Yuma is a piyut that we say during the in Kippur. Why do we say in Kippur? Because in Kippur is the idea of Bina, and Shoishan, which is red, is the idea of Gvura. Now, Shoishan Emek Hayuma, Machda the Ktoidus,
The coin used to
the
use
shovel of the Ktoidus, Shoyem Kippurim, Toisa Shal Zahav Edom. The shovel of Ktoidus was of a red gold. That's what the Rambam writes. Now, gold also shows an idea of the color gold of Gvura. Kesef is the idea of Ava and Chesed, but Zav comes from Bina. Now, Yom Kippurim, he goes further, U'Kemoi Purim, Kiyadua. It says in Tikkunei Zohar that the word Yom Kippurim is comprised of two words, Kippurim, like Purim. Hine, but Purim hayakol hamaisa b'Shushan Bira. Everything happened in Shushan.
Try to bring
the capital.
The word Shushan.
Yeah. Ve'ishloimar Shushan shahoyse ir gedoyla ir hamalucha reimes al bina v'dai lemavin. This is enough for those that understand these ideas. I'm reading from some explanations here, saying that the ear gedoyla shows on when it widens a large city, that there's more harchava. Says chachma is the Zohar, I think, calls chachma nekuda behechala. The nekuda in the heichal. The heichal is bina. But chachma is a small, is an idea that pops into one's mind. For example, nefesh adam. It's an idea.
Bina is the better.
Bina is when the idea is brought out and talked out and comprehended, all the details. So a city, which is comprised of a lot of houses, and each house has a lot of stones. This shows on our chava an idea, and especially with the Ir Hamalucha. It wasn't a regular city, it was the city of the capital city, showed an idea of being. Now, Zeu sheyeshafti veis hasurim mesha shimbeis aleph yam. Furthermore, I sat in jail before he went to his galus, his exile at Belevik. He was sat in jail for 303 days. That's the Nakuda Shva. Shva Shimbeis aleph. In the Nakudas, in the Arizal explains that there are 9 different types of Nakudas. Kamatz, Pata, Tzeri, Segel, Shva, Chayil, Shuruk, Chirik, and Kubutz. And each one correspond to different spheres. Kamatz refers to Patach. The Kamatz refers to Keser. The Patach to Chachma, the Tzeri to Bina, Segel to Ches, and the Shva is Gvura. I sat exactly 303 days in jail. 303 is the Nakud of Shva. Rabbi Levi.
Who said?
Rabbi Levi Yitzchak, the Rebbe's father. The Rebbe's father. So it was 303 days, which is the gematria of the Nakuda Shiva, which is the idea of Gevura.
And where was he put in jail?
Kazakhstan, Almaty.
That's where he died.
No.
Right. So where did he die?
No, he was at the ending of his exile. He was transferred to a large city, Almaty. He was from a village, Chiali. Chiali from Almaty is 17-hour drive.
Yeah.
3 hours by train. That was the closest Yiddish place in Kazakhstan, was the place of Almaty. So he went there, and there he passed away a few months later in Almaty. That's where he's buried there.
So he passed away in
Almaty.
Almaty.
Yeah.
So when his wife came over and brought him all this ink, at the time before he went to the 5 years jail?
After.
Why is he in jail? She couldn't come to him.
She didn't see him when he was in jail.
Before
sent him to a different city then.
She saw him one time at the ending. They let her come at the ending when he was sentenced. After he was sentenced, so she came and they told her that your husband was sentenced and what's going to happen to him. And she said, "How's he going to survive? He's so weak." And they said, "No, he's going to be like a regular person. Just he has to go somewhere else. He's going to still be able to vote and do all other important things." And he said that then there was one of the guys was Jewish, one of the people that sentenced him, or one of the officers sitting there. And he still remembered that he was in a cheder when he was young. So he said that he had said he wanted a few svarim. So he said he was very proud to say he knew what a lot of the svarim were. But one sefer he didn't know what it was. The sefer Tanya he didn't know. He didn't know what that was. But he made a list. He gave her a list what to bring with. And then I think the next day she was able to see him before he left. And he went, and then later on she went and joined him. She went and packed up stuff and went and joined him.
So you're saying he didn't study the Tanya?
No, this individual who was the
was there.
KGB.
I thought you were talking about Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Schneersohn.
No. This individual was one of the people was Jewish, one of the communists. He knew what all the other svarim were. He didn't know what the Tanya was. He didn't ask. He just asked for basic svarim. He probably wasn't allowed more. He couldn't bring with him a whole library. He asked for a siddur, tehillim, a chumah, a tanakh. He asked for a few svarim. Now, uglesi al meshech heisham, and I was exiled 5 years. What is the idea of 5? L'neged ha'hei gvuris. There is the concept in Kabbalah of hei gvuris. 5 fingers. They correspond to the main midas. That's the gvura teferes. That's a choid. The 5 letters of Lekim, 5 letters of Menatzbach, the letters that have ending letters. Mem has a mem sofi, shlas mem, a nun, all those letters. That means it's a cutoff letter. It's a letter which cuts off and nothing could be afterwards. That shows an idea of gvura, restraint, and nothing goes past this point.
Okay.
So now, Meshech Zman Halimud Avodas Halavim. Uhei shanim. The Leviim, shekasa Pirush Rashi b'chumash Parsha V'Leischa, pasuk Zayis shel Leviim Ayin Sham. Rashi explains that the Leviim would learn how to be proper Leviim, how to do their job for 5 years. Ki Leviim Mispar Lekim, Leviim, which is the gematria of Helikim, 86. Hein bechinas gevuris. They are on the level of gevura, like we said earlier in the very beginning, that Levi Yitzchak, Levi shows on gevura. So hein bechinas gevuris. So the hey shanim will negate hey gevuris. The 5 years that they have to study and prepare correspond to the Kabbalah, the 5 gevuras that there are. By the way, that's why we take the a shanis on a shana rabbah, and al pi Kabbalah, you bang them on the floor 5 times. Why do you do 5 times? It says clearly in the Hiratzin, because you're trying to hit the 5 gevuras, sweeten them. I think it also says they're menatzpach, those letters menatzpach.
So he was from Shevet Levi or Levi Yitzchak?
No,
According
but
to
his name was Levi.
But he said that 5 years the Levi learning. This is why he went to 5 years to jail.
His name was Levi.
And his name is Levi.
He was trying to show that he was represented, that his name and the amount of time that he spent in Gullus, it all had a connection with the Gevurah.
Then is his mother.
V'da no. Now, how many years did he sit in jail now? 5 years. He was sentenced 5. He didn't sit Lapayel 5 years, but he was sentenced for 5 years. Shehei pa'amim shinnon hei. 5 times shana. The word shana. 5 times shana. U'misper chol hachaf beis oisis. Im ha'oisis menatzpach. If you do 5 times the word shana, 355, comes out to the number of the gematria of all the aleph bays, like aleph till each one. Aleph is 1, bays is 2, so that's 3. Gimel is another 3, so that's 6. If you go on like that, all the letters, including all the menatzbach, all the letters hakfulim, which are the double letters in aleph bays, that comes out the same gematria. Now, what's the connection? We understand that menatzbach, the ending letters, have the connection to Gevurah. What is the connection to all the letters? Where do we have? How do we make sound letters? It comes from the 5 different ways how from the mouth we're able to pronounce the letters. That means like this. There are certain letters that come from the throat. Yeah. Aleph, Hey, Ches, and Ayin, the pronunciation is guttural. That's where it comes from. Bumach, Beis, Vav, Mem, Fei, comes from the lips. Beis, Mem, Vav, Pei. It's the lips that create those letters. Gimel, Yud, Chaf, Kuf, come from the palate. Dalid, Lamed, Tes, Nun, Taf, the tongue. Zayin, Samach, Shenesh, Tzadik, from the teeth. This says in Svarim, it says in the Sefer Yitzira that there are 5. Tanya says it. The Hey Mitzvah Sapeh. Now, what are these?
On the lips.
Reish, it says, comes from the teeth.
It's nothing to do mila'el and mila'ra. It's only otiot choniot.
Now, these 5 methods, the 5 sources for all the letters of the aleph base are the 5 gevuras. Those are the hinting to the 5 severities of 5 gevuras. So that's what we have that the whole aleph base all together with the natzbach is idea that it's the idea of 5 times shana equals all the letters doubled, because the letters come from Gevurah. The letters come from Gevurah, so therefore they have that. Now, l'chein ben hey shalom l'mikra. Therefore, a child that is 5 years old learns the Chumash. He starts learning the Chumash. Kedei sheyeda mitchila kol Chav Zayin Oisis. You should know all the 27 letters, 22 letters, plus the 5 double letters altogether. So he needs to know that. So he needs to know first the 27 letters. Up till 5 years, he's learning the letters. He learns the letters, he learns how to pronounce letters. That's what he does before he learns Mikra. So that takes 5 years, because the letters are connected to Gevurah. So therefore it takes 5 years to learn them. Everything is exact, but I believe you're stuck. Now,
The mattress 1775.
what's the gematria of what?
Of all 5 times the 355.
Uh-huh.
Can be 300 times.
Yeah, it says 377.
But yes.
Lahoyer gam came the Indian elef sheva meis shivim v'chamisha shekel shehem nasim vavalam mudim shekasa pasha b'kunei. He doesn't get into it, but he says to take note that this number, that all the letters, the gematria of all the letters together is 1775. Is we find in the Torah that the 1775 shkalim were given to make the vavim, the hooks that were on the amudim, the pillars that were in the Mishkan. Now, V'yishafti behei be'atei surim. I sat not only 5 years in jail, 5 different jails. 5 different jails. Dinepatrovs, Kiev, Dinepatrovs again, Kharkiv, Amata, Leneged Hey Gevuris, also corresponding to the Hey Gevuris. So that's the gematria of the 22 letters.
Fine.
With the 5 letter double letters. So altogether, the gematria all in the 1775. He says there's also a connection, he doesn't go into it over here, with the Torah. It says this number, 1775, was the amount of shkalim used to create the hooks that were on the amudim in Mishkan.
What year?
In 1939, he was put in jail.
The 1775, not title of
Now, he sat in 5 places in jail, but he was 2 times in the same city. He put to one city, he went sent somewhere else, and he went back to the original city where he was from. So he says, "Im ki ba'yares hindalid." When it comes to cities, they're not 5; they're 4.
But one of them 2 times.
But the Nevatrovsky Shafti Bate Asurim Shoinim. I want to let you know that it was 2 different jails. So we're not going to count it as 1.
In one city was 2.
It was 2. Shvitoichir and Mechutzliir. One was in the city, one was outside the city. So it's like a separate, counted separately. Gam.
Rabbi.
He wants to connect this to the Daled and Hay of Yehuda. I'm not sure what the connection is.
Why?
Yeah,
What year did Levi Yitzchak pass away?
1944.
1944.
39 is set in jail.
Yeah. And did he pass away in the same jail he was in 1949?
No, he was exiled. He was exiled. They had this idea in Russia where they sent you away, like the whole idea of Siberia. Well, he wasn't sent to Siberia; he was sent to Kazakhstan, which is a very far away country.
Yeah.
But these were these were countries that were. The Russia had this thing where they sent you away to a very, very far away city, and a lot of times they put you in a work camp there. Sometimes he wasn't in a work camp. He was sent to a village. That was a village where nothing was there.
Who saved all his books, his writing? Was saved?
Most of it was lost.
The buried it.
Well,
I don't know about that. That's what you heard.
The rabbits dig a hole and put it, but nobody knows.
Oh, the Rebbetzin?
Maybe,
No,
I don't remember.
She was digging a hole in the ground and cover it, but nobody knows. She passed away.
So what happened was we do have a number of Svarim of his Torah. How do we have a Svarim of his Torah? That We do have a number of svarim in this Torah. That was brought out through his wife, Rabbi Simchana. She smuggled out with her some svarim. When she came out in 1947, she was able to leave Russia, escape. And when she escapes, so she brought with her some things. And then there were some other things that she had that were put into Moscow. She had maybe given something to someone in Moscow. She was worried also to take out too much. So she gave some things to some people living in Moscow. And they were there for many years. They ever sent letters trying to find out where it was. Some of the things came out eventually, like it was smuggled out during communist times, and other things were never found. Most of it was never found, this Torah. But there is a number of Svarim that were published. He was a very prolific writer. He was a very big Rav, by the way. He was a Rav in a very large city in Ukraine, which is still a large city, Dnepropetrovsk. Then it was called Yekaterinoslav, that's what it was called. Now, the Rebbe published that. Now, he didn't have paper, like we spoke. He didn't have any paper to write while he was in Gullus. He was there all by himself. There was not one other Jew there.
Where are the Jews?
In that city?
Because the video must show us that other Jews.
That's Almatah. The place where he was in Shiali.
Oh, sure.
Most of the time, he was there for
The Goya was next up to him.
for 4 years.
Oh.
For almost 4 years, he was in exile in a place 17-hour drive from Almatah. It was a village, a little village with nothing, some huts there. And
The house was made out.
he didn't have any place to stay there, and he had to stay by a guy, rent a room in his house.
I also
He had one room inside the guy's house, and they would always scream at them, about this, what they're doing in there, they're cooking and different things. And there was no one there. He didn't have any Jewish people living in that village, as far as I know. But there was maybe in another village nearby, there was someone who came, and he was there by himself. And like the Rebbe had told over that his mother had prepared ink, natural ink. She took from different plants, and he wrote with different color ink on the side of his svarim. And he didn't have space. So sometimes he write his Torah on that page. But then his Torah continued for a long time. So he started to go backwards. To earlier pages. Because he was going to write on further things. So he would write backwards. So they had to figure it out where he was going, the hemshech. He would write backwards on previous pages. So he wrote around, like he had a Zohar with him, he wrote around the Zohar. And then he had a Tanya with him, he wrote around the Tanya. So he wrote around the pages, and they had it on display at one point in the exhibit in the library,
So
next
now
to 770.
came out the book for Chochot, and also exhibit printed me.
Yeah.
New book, you bought it yesterday.
Rabbi Morozov showed it to us last night.
Right. So I saw once when I was in the library, I saw it. I saw they had the safer open under the glass, so I was able to see it.
His notes were at the side of the page.
Yeah.
You can see a small
Writing, very small.
right.
But
Very big.
where he's buried, no Jews. No Jewish
No. There's
in the
Jews.
cemetery.
No.
In the cave, there's Jews.
It's all Muslim.
This cemetery?
Muslim.
There's no Jewish section, is there?
Nothing.
He's in a cave in there.
Scary. Big one. His cave, they got it. But all around, when you go, like, by the Rabbi, you go, right? So you right, left, all in. L'Avdil over there is all gold.
There was no Jewish cemetery there?
Was a
Almatah. Where did they bury all the
There's
Jews?
not even a permission to bury, it's like
There was a Jewish community there.
spirit over the asking father, and there's like few people that was that. That's it.
They were Gullus also?
No, they went to help him.
Oh, they went because of them.
No, but there was a shul there.
Who said the area? Muslim people or the Jewish people there?
The Baruch Hashem did not break it all this year. Later on, the last couple 10, 15 years, the Shliach went over there and this, but before that, for years we had nobody called them. Nobody.
You said that from all Yehuda.
When I was
I saw Goyim all around, Goy Shekoni. Really? I didn't know that, because I thought there were Yidden that lived, there was a shul there. I mean, I think there was a shul there.
It's an exotic, wasn't
They have city in Israel, or Yehuda, 300 yeshiva boys. We'll say they just went.
That's now this year, but
This year. First time.
Saying for years, nobody got.
Mm.
You know how far is this?
When did you go?
2 years ago. I bought a ticket to. We want to buy the most.
She writes in her diary, the Rebbe's mother wrote a diary. She wrote a very extensive diary, and was later, half of it was published. After she passed away, half of it was not formally published, but was passed around, because she had sent parts of it to someone. She had sent parts of it. And the other half was only published in recent years, the other half of the diary. And she talks about her whole decision. She writes this as if things were going along. She wrote what was happening. She was a very intelligent woman, and she wrote a lot of very, very smart. She wrote very beautiful handwriting. Was very
wrote in Russian?
no, in Russian Kurdish.
She very
Yeah.
next time.
Very intelligent. She knew languages. She knew Nagina. She was a big expert in
Was she
Nagina.
very next time?
Yeah,
The next Kevin, right?
yeah. No, not right there. Few down the path. When you come to the oil,
Yeah.
right on the right side.
With the candles?
No. When you're going right by the actual oil,
Yeah.
the Rebbe.
Yeah.
So before you turn into the oil, to your right is the three Rebbitzins,
Yeah.
Mushka, but she's not there. She's further down the path. That same path. Walk down another 15 feet.
Only 3 reps. There's a third.
There's the Rebbitzin. There's her mother and then the Rebbe Shab's Rebbitzin.
She was buried in North.
Yeah, because the Friedekippe came here, he came with his mother. His mother was still alive. She was the first one buried there in the Chabad section. There was Chabad, Lubavitchers that Chabad that lived in America, New York, they're not buried in that cemetery. They had a different cemetery that they used. For some reason, I don't know what the Friedekippe, when his mother was nifter, he was in Chicago.
So
He was on a visit to Chicago, and it had a lot planned for him in the schedule and everything when he heard the news. And it was and over here they had arranged for that. She was the first one buried there, and that became the Chelk of Chabad. And she was the first cave from that whole area. There were other kfarim in that cemetery. It's a very old cemetery. It's very, very big. But that section was there was nothing there. You can see in the picture of 8 years later, she was nifter in 1942. 1942.
Well, how's that?
During the war years.
Rebbitzin.
Schneersohn.
Oh, that was Schneersohn.
Yeah, the Rebbe Shabbos Rebbitzin. She would sleep on the room when you walk into 770 on the second floor, right above the door. Right above the door, 770, the Friedekiv's apartments were on the second floor. And right above the door is like the window sticks out, it's like a fancy windows in 770. It's a very old building, and that's where she had a room there. She was nifter in 1942, and 2 years after the Friedekippe she came to America with her son, and the Friedekippe had to come back from Chicago, so he came back from Chicago, and when you see 8 years later, when the Friedekippe was a Stalik and he was buried there, so you can see that the oihel was not put up around the cave until like a year later. So there's a picture of the Rebbe davening by the oil of Friedekippe Rebbe, and there's nothing around. There's no kvarim there. It's empty. Maybe far away you see some kvarim. That whole area is not a lot of. You don't see kvarim there. And you're just standing by the Friedekippe without any oil on it. Then they made a committee to build the oil and everything. Took some time.
Oh, was the Rebbe Rashab's mother buried there too?
No, she was buried in Lubavitch.
Got it.
She wasn't alive. She was already.
Yeah.
She was buried in Lubavitch, yeah.
Yeah.
No, the Rebbe Shab's mother.
Mother, like it's in Rivka, right?
Right. So she was nifta already before the Rebbe Shab fled during World War One.
And
The Rebbe Shab fled Lubavitch during World War One, and he went to Rostov, to south,
okay.
away from the war zone, because the war was coming closer to Moscow and to Lubavitch. So he fled to Rostov, and then he didn't return. He never came back to Lubavitch again.
Wow. In Lubavitch, they came up.
The whole yeshiva then was dismantled. Maybe it continued for a little bit further. And they have a bunch of Rebbitzins there outside of the aisles. Also, there's a cave called the Rebbitzins there.
You went there.
I was just in Lubavitch. Lubavitch and Rostov, yeah.
So you was buried. Was Nechama Dina buried at the oil also?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, she's right across on that right side. When you come on the path, right up opposite the oil.
Yeah.
They bought all those spots there. The Rebbitzin, all those spots were bought. They were all kept for the. No one is buried. There's a. It says you don't bury a tzaddik next to Russia, which is also the reason why we don't bury near. We don't bury near Goyim, and we don't bury near. We only bury next to Shomer Torah mitzvahs. If someone's not a Shomer Torah mitzvahs, so you make a gate around. Like I believe it had a gate around. They put a gate around to separate. So what they do with the Rebbitzins and Chabad, they have a space around them, all on all sides, and no one can be buried in their perimeter. When the Rebbe's mother was nifter in 1965, 64. So he showed where he wanted her to be buried, and he said he wants to buy all the spaces around her.
He actually bought all the.
He bought all the spaces around her.
Wow.
He went actually further, and no one knew why, but he bought opposites, not only the space in front, but even over the path for the men's section, because in Chabad the men and women are separate after they're buried separately.
Yeah.
Other communities they're buried together. Depends which community.
Yeah.
So a lot of husbands and wives buried together. In Chabad they're not buried together, husbands and wives. So there's a path separating sides. So he bought on the women's side. He bought all around, and it was right next to the path, the extra space. He went and bought over the path also a few on that line opposite, corresponding to his mother. No one knew why the Rebbe himself bought it. But in the ending, the Chevra Kadisha gave these spots to people that had a connection with the Rebbitzin, that helped her throughout the years, or other big chassidim. They gave it to Rabbi Yael Khan. They gave him one of those spots, and they think there's only one more left. There's only one spot left that the Rebbe personally bought.
Yeah.
So that's a decision they have to make who gets that spot. But
you don't put stuff on something.
They saved that spot for Rabbi Yael all the years. They knew that. Someone one time tried to tell Rabbi Yael that don't worry, they saved you a spot. So he started screaming at him, Shaita. He wasn't interested. He wasn't thinking about where he's going to be buried. So it wasn't. Okay. They say there was once a din Torah because they sold the Chevra Kadisha and the Chabad. They sold too many kvarim. There was more kvarim. There were less kvarim than more people in kvarim. So if you have Shaila, what are we going to do? So they said there's din Torah. It's the Kol HaKodim Zacha. Kol HaKodim Zacha. Whoever's first is Zacha.
They gave back the money?
Kol HaKodim Zacha. You get back in. Real estate, it's expensive real estate,
Is anyone coming from now?
Expensive, yeah.
In the Chabad, it's very expensive for those that want to buy in the close vicinity. It's very, very, very expensive.
Rabbi, who do you think is going to get that last spot?
I have a thought, but I'd rather not say.
Where Rabbi Goner?
That's true. It could be someone else.
Rabbi Goner, where is right?
Our Goner 11, Yom Klan, and Simpson, all three of them behind Oli.
Okay, all right.
Behind?
There was just a handful of spots left.
My son is straight head with the Rebbe. Right is left corner to the left.
What happened was at one point the Chabad Chelka became full because they didn't imagine Chabad would be so big. They didn't buy huge. It became all full. The question became, what do we do now with the? Now there was running out of space. The Chaver Kadisha asked the Rebbe, should we go to another cemetery and buy off an area, or should we stay in the cemetery and find other areas in this cemetery that are not going to be very large areas, but different areas within the same cemetery? So the Rebbe said that Kadima, to do the option of finding within this Beis HaChaim, that's next to the Frierdiker Rebbe, so you should find. So that's what they did. They went to find different areas within the section they bought off from other societies over there. And actually, I was there today, and I was walking through to see some family members there, and I saw like some old matzevis that are like fell down. Like a number of them, and it fell down, and it wasn't like anyone's taking care of it. Like not from the Chabad section actually, but very old matzevis, and they're just huge matzevis. Some of them are like they're half on. They look like the wind. I don't know what would happen with the storm. Ground shifts, and then Pashut fell down, and
but it was Jewish cemetery.
100%.
Not Chabad.
No, it's 100% Jewish cemetery.
Rabbi Gordon is next to the one. Was my son-in-law's grave.
Wow. Rabbi Schellenberg Gordon?
Their father and son. Rabbi Gordon is
Were your son-in-laws, Rabbi?
His father.
Where did he learn?
In Jersey. He was in New Jersey.
Oh, in Jersey. By his shul. He had a shul there.
Yeah.
There's space by the gate. Still space by the gate.
That gate right over there, yeah. That's not a Chabad Chelka, so the Chaver Kaddish doesn't own that. So people privately, the private Lubavitchers that went and bought out other societies, and they go and sell it. So those are like, I don't know, 100,000. I don't know what they sell them for. A lot of money that's prime real estate. So it's not the Chabad Kaddish has no shaykhs to those spots. When they didn't buy like single spots. They bought like larger areas that they can put larger. They didn't get full areas a lot of times. They get areas that might have some other people there, but they didn't buy just a few. They bought like a larger. So, and they also they this is also going to be very expensive. So anyone knew that they have any society knew, all the societies know they have spots closer. It's very expensive. So these Chaver Chaptain bought those spots, and then they sold it. But the Chaver Kadisha Chabad has other areas, but sometimes a 10, 15 walk from that area.
And two brother-in-law and a sister. Only the Tzedlin, his Schneersohn and his wife.
Oh, there.
Unfortunately.
Which section are they? Further.
Is close to the. Oh yeah. Should have an aliyah. Also, Shmuel, Rabbi Morozov's grandfather is buried in that cemetery, and I know because his father was there, and he needed me to answer for Kaddish for his father. But he's not buried by the well. He's buried further down.
Is there going to be a million parrots?
It doesn't look like.
Across street down.
Yeah.
Across street down.
Yeah. Rabbi Lerner, I told Shmulik that Rabbi Mendel Morozov is buried about a 10-minute walk from the Rebbe's and I know because Rabbi Morozov's father needed a 10th man to recite Kaddish for his father.
Mm.
Got pulled by his father.
Yeah. So then we're not so into this.
We know with the way on Gimel Tammuz.
Saying they want to be buried in there, but they have to be right there.
When they light the candles on Gimel Tammuz outside in the right across there, dream about the place for himself.
Yeah. Shlomo Jemer, he's there.
He's right there. He bought 150. He had the he bought like 10 years before. 50,000.
So the family still has that spot.
So yeah, so there's right now.
See, he's right across. He's right across.
When they light the candles, you'll see 2 on the line. It's right there.
in that whole in the area where the Shemtas are in that.
Yeah, but on the food side.
Oh yeah, I didn't know.
Same, B1B.
Oh, yeah, prime real estate.
Yes. Thank you, Rabbi. This is a very informative class.
Not Peva Kadisha.
No,
Yeah, very interesting.
Not
Everything is very
unique.
exact, you know.
And then you have the Rebbe go ahead and explain the Tzfar. Yeah. Every Shabbos is to something.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Rabbi Davis.
Oh, yes, of course. Thank you.
And Rabbi Sabgir. I don't know if he's here or not.
Good night, David. Good night, Yochanan.
Good night. Thank you for joining.
It does not look like we're
Spal Hahilula Yogin Aleinu.
Amen.